Hey everyone, Big Pauly back for another video. We're back for a top 5 countdown video this time. It's been a while since I've done one of these. The last one I did was my top 5 Star Wars moments. And being a huge Star Trek fan, I thought it best to just let you know and just show you what my top 5 moments out of these movies. Now, there's a lot of catalogue to go through. There's 13 movies in total. So we've got 6 of the original cast movies, 4 with the Star Trek Next Generation cast, and also 3 of the new J.J. Abrams reboots, or as they like to call it, the Kelvin timeline. So it was difficult to pinpoint and make the top 5 list. I had to go through all of the movies, and there are so many good moments. There are so many good moments that I've left out. So unfortunately, we couldn't keep them all in the chart, the countdown. So we're going to go through them. I'm going to go from 5 down to 1 as my favourite. There are great moments in the original movies. With William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and also the other movies. So stick with me and let's go through it 5 to 1. Okay, my number 5 spot on the list is the Enterprise and Reliant chase scene through the nebula. Now this is number 5. But I'm not saying this is my 5th favourite Star Trek film. It's just my 5th favourite scene. There are lots of beautiful parts to this entire part of this scene. Exterior shots with planets like that, the flybys of the ships, the shadowing, the lighting you get on the Enterprise. Great character moments. The nebula itself is absolutely gorgeous, with all these blues mixed with purples and reds. As you can see, look, you get the reflection going through there, plus also you get lots of like thunder flashes as well, lightning flashes. And the actual character moments like this between Kirk and Spock are absolutely brilliant. The entire cast did a fantastic job on this movie. Those flashes there are just so awesome to look at. Ricardo Montalban there as Khan, looking very butch and manly. It was great casting. Wasn't the first time we'd seen him. We'd seen him back in the original series, but he was a bit more polished back then. But as you can see, with all the grown hair and scars and things like that, over the years he's worn, he's weathered, he's been marooned on the planet for many years. His only job now is to get back at Kirk and to punish him, revenge for the man that actually marooned him on that planet. And I love these little scenes where Kirk's like egging him on. You know, don't be such a chicken, come and get me. And I love the look of their clothing. I know they're supposed to be like Supermen, you know, of the eugenics era, but I love the rags clothing that they've got, obviously what they made from the planet and everything. The lighting on the Enterprise is spectacular, with all the reds. You know, they've got the emergency lighting on, and the way that the bridge like tilts and everything shakes. And look at the beautiful exterior of that as the Enterprise flies past. And this is the first time you get an actual impression of how big this nebula is. I mean, we've seen starships flying through nebula in Next Generation and Voyager and things like that, and it's just, they just fly through like a, you know, through a cloud. But this is the first time you actually get an idea of exactly how big and vast this area of space is, and how dense. And look at the mist and the fog that are passing between the ships, and that they have no idea how far they are from each other, because they've got no navigational control, so it's basically guesswork. this is all this scene is, isn't it? It's just these two ships, these two people against each other, cat and mouse, and it's a case of who's going to get who first. But there's nice little moments like the view screen, you know, trying to guess, poor old Sulu's trying to guess where he's shooting, and all these like weird like tornado type effects through the actual nebula. It's beautiful now that they've actually done a remaster and they've done it in high definition, because I only ever remember watching it in VHS, not even on DVD. But with the remastered DVDs, they look absolutely spectacular, especially on the biggest screen that you can actually get. But it would be fantastic just to watch this again on the big screen. They should really release the Star Trek films, re-release them every couple of years, so that we can actually just watch the grandeur on the big screen, because a lot of us have not been able to, you know, revel in the giganticness of these movies and these scenes on the big screen. The first Star Trek film that I ever saw was Star Trek 4, so never seen the early Star Trek movies on the big screen. Oh yes, and look, he's oh, that's so impressive. It probably weighs about the same as a bag of sugar, but it looks so impressive. Fallen comrades.
Well done, Scotty.
And also, I mean, after the nebula scene, when the Reliant explodes, obviously one of the biggest scenes is the Spock Kirk scene, and that still gets me every time. And I love the way that J.J. Abrams decided to reverse it in Star Trek Into Darkness, you know, and have Kirk in the radiation chamber and everything, rather than Spock. It's just a nice little subtle touch, but it really works on both of these movies. And the add-in of what's his name, Spock, shouting, "Oh, no!" But these little scenes here, I mean, he knows it's a lost cause now, and he's going to lose his brother, but it's a very touching scene.
Spock.
Poor old Leonard Nimoy. He's never had to go through so much grabbing one movie. But yeah, being the Vulcan as he is, in a Starfleet uniform, got to look his best even on his deathbed. Oh, mind the glass, mate. It's going to need a polish. It's such a sad scene, but it's such a beautiful scene between these two characters.
Yes. Don't breathe. It's logical.
This must have been one of the like highly classified, you know, secret filmings like they did with the Star Wars with The Empire Strikes Back, where no one knew about Vader and, you know, being Luke's father, and they added the dialogue in afterwards. So I mean, if this scene had got out as it does now on the internet back then, you know, it would have been major spoiler. But obviously we didn't have that problem with the internet back then, so the only way you knew what was happening in the, you know, in a film is you go and watch a film. The final moments of poor old Spock. It was a big, bold move, because he's one of the most beloved characters of Star Trek. For some, more so than Kirk. But to take this character that is the heart of Star Trek and to just wipe him out, just let him die. I mean, while they were making this, they obviously knew that he was going to be resurrected into Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Beautiful, beautiful scene. Number 4 on my list is the Shuttle Flyby of the Enterprise in space dock from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Even with the nice Next Generation music as well. So good old Jerry Goldsmith's fantastic score for this film. And we get a nice good close-up look at the Enterprise as we do an entire flyby all the way around it. It's a very emotional scene, and it's kind of like, oh, it makes you look at the size of it. We've never seen it like this before the motion picture. You just see it in the original TV series, just a flyby, but this gives us the first time of a grand scale of the Enterprise. Look at that beautiful shine on it. It's been polished, it's been refitted. The only downer on this film, obviously, is the allegations of sexual allegations, basically, of Stephen Collins, who played Decker. Kind of like taints the film slightly, but yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate things that happen, and you can't do anything about it. But it's still a great film, a beautiful film. But the special effects are actually from a different company. So from The Wrath of Khan, they started using Industrial Light and Magic, but the reason why the effect shots and the warp and Vija and all that kind of special effect is different is because it was used by a different effects company. And it's such a clean shot as well now that they've all been spruced up and remastered with the new soundtracks. That's something that I'd like to see on the big screen. I mean, watching that at view, that whole scene there would be absolutely incredible. Just look at the sheer look on his face, like, I've been waiting so long to get back on that ship. The costumes were very generic for the first film. The iconic red costumes didn't come into it until Wrath of Khan. As you can see, we've all got the creams and like the greys. It's supposed to look very pristine and very polished. And I like to look all around the Enterprise as well, like things happening in the distance. You know, you got like little model, and you know, like engineers in their little jetpack suits and people welding stuff over the side and things like that, and the detail of the shuttle and everything. And this, you can get the grand scale here. Look how big that is. So yeah, see, like, look at him falling down there. Well, he's just floating, isn't he? You can get a grand scale now of how big that shuttle is to the Enterprise. Can you imagine that shuttle against the Next Generation Enterprise now? That'd be huge. Yeah, that's something they've knocked off the actual driving test now, reversing around the corner. It's a good job Scotty knows how to reverse. Brilliant, fantastic. There we go, and that's my number 4. Okay, my number 3 on my list is the saucer separation and atmosphere and planet crash from Star Trek Generations. Great model work in this. Fantastic sound, really rips through your sound system. Such a heart-stopping, edge of the seat scene. Star Trek Next Generation always remains as one of my favourite shows, completely out of the lot. I grew up in the 80s, and both Next Generation and Deep Space Nine were the 2 main shows that I was watching at that time. Deep Space Nine, a lot of people prefer over Next Generation, but I think close to the nail, but I think Next Generation just pips Deep Space Nine. They are both just fantastic Star Trek shows. Good old Georgie. Georgie. And this cast is such a fantastic cast. They work so well together. Even watching like the outtakes and things like that, they had so much great chemistry and so many funny scenes together off camera. They were like a true Roddenberry family. And I think that occurred on Deep Space Nine and a lot of the other shows as well. And that shot, that's a fantastic shot. It's just peril, isn't it? It's just, they think they're going to be alright. Oh, go on, Data. You know you want to say it. Lovely. And I love this shot coming down through the atmosphere of the burning up as it comes down. Now in the old days, you know, they would shake the set, or rather they would shake the camera to get like the vibration scenes, but this whole thing on a gimbal was just, the whole bridge just shook. So that's how they got the more natural shakiness of everything around them, especially if one person leans one way and some person leans the other way on the old series. And these are beautiful. I mean that shot of the saucer section there, I think was only something like 6 feet across, but the detail work on that saucer is fantastic. And they also spray painted some brighter greens onto the actual forest when they did the model work, because the green wasn't showing up well enough. Seat belts, anybody? No. Yeah, look at that, fantastic. And that's where they sprayed the green, because it wasn't showing enough. They really should have fitted seat belts on that bridge. What were they thinking? Everything's falling down around them. Explosions coming out, cupboards falling down, glass smashing, trees being knocked down, birds fleeing. And that is a great scene. I love that scene, especially when a piece falls down from the ceiling and Data kind of like jumps over the top of Troy to protect her. And that when that comes to a stop, everything just shoots forward. It's such a great action scene. Great action scene, great model making. It's just great photography as well, and the sound system. You want to put that on the best sound system you've got on the biggest screen. It is just absolutely amazing. And then the realisation of, oh my god, look at the state of this bridge, who's going to clear this up? And Worf's like, not me, I am a Klingon. Where's Spock? That's what I want to know. He must be around somewhere. Look, even the window, even the dome window is broken. They wouldn't have had that problem if they'd used transparent aluminum. And that is a great shot. Look at that trail coming down. So brilliant. Okay, folks. So the number 2 on my top 5 list is from the J.J. Abrams 2009 reboot of Star Trek. And this is the battle at the beginning of the movie with the Kelvin. It's just such a great action piece. It really sets the pace for the whole movie and sets up these new characters. And the way that these missiles, torpedoes, fly towards the ship, and just parts of the ship just explode and just fly everywhere. Great casting as well. And this is like the earlier part, so this is before we get to see Kirk and Spock and all that. We get to see lots and lots and lots of action in this, and people just being sucked out. I mean, we've never seen a shot like that in Star Trek before, with just floating in space like that. That is quite terrifying, actually, when it goes into silence. And good old Thor there without his hammer. Great captain there, played by Farhan Tahir, who played Captain Rabao. Brilliant. I loved his character in this film. It's a shame that we didn't see more of him, though. Although, if of the Star Trek 4 that they're putting initial stages to now, I'm hoping, like they said, they were going to go back in time, and that George Kirk there, Chris Hemsworth, will actually go back to the beginning, maybe the Battle of Kelvin again, and meet his dad and try and change history. I don't know how they're going to change it, but that's from what I've heard. But the thing is, poor old Chris Hemsworth now, he's all beefed up and muscles and everything, so I mean, here he looks very wimpy and very young, so they might have to tone him down a bit. I love the elevators and the way the elevators come down with the lights in these, and that everybody all stands to attention when the captain's walking up through the stairwell and that. First glance into the shuttle. Lots of dark colours here, dark blacks and greys, and kind of like a distressed battleship type of feel to it. And I know a lot of people don't like the J.J. Abrams lens flare, but I love the lens flare. It gives it such a big motion picture epic feel to it. It's his little signature as well. So these wide angle shots here are huge, and you can see all the scuffing and everything on the shuttle, so it's been through some battles and things like that. And Eric Bana's character on here as well, playing the Romulan, he did a brilliant job. He was, you know, it's a different take on the Romulans that we know. This is kind of like a mercenary rogue outfit of Romulans, you know, that have broken away, and they've been stuck in time for so many years, so many decades, you know, and that kind of thing. And I love when he throws these little holograms just in the middle of the room. Like, we'll be all watching films like that one day. You won't have to put a disc in, you'll just throw the movie into the middle of the room and we'll watch it as a 8K 3D hologram. Look at the way that his expression. You would never know that was Eric Bana. The makeup on this is brilliant, and it's such a great action film. Nice little shot there of Leonard Nimoy, which was great to have him in this. And it's a shame that we didn't get any of the other characters, you know, crossing over like William Shatner. Oh well, I've got no use for you anymore, mate. Poor sod. And now old Chris Hemsworth's in charge of saving everyone's lives. But look at these action shots. They are just the explosions and things falling down. This is what is a great action movie. just firing the phasers off into anything. Probably if that had gone up against the Borg would have just tucked their tail in and ran off. Oh, and we got Jennifer Morrison as the lovely Winona Kirk. So it was our first glimpse into Mrs. Kirk, who's about to pop out little Jim Boy. One thing that I would like to see, if they do kind of like a prequel or a flashback or time travel, is more relationship between George Kirk and Winona Kirk, when they met, fell in love, that kind of thing. Bit more backstory on the Kirks. The size of her eyes at the back there, oh, bug-eyed. That was like, what the hell is that? But it's very effective. Don't pop it out yet, love, you're not free. There's so much tension in this. And I tell you, as Star Trek films, there are very emotional scenes over the years. But this really, it actually really hit me. This whole emotional final scene. You know, as she's about to give birth to old Kirk, and he realises that the autopilot's non-functional, and it's the music as well. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I know a lot of people dislike the J.J. Abrams movies, the reboot, because it's not the prime timeline. You know, they've created a completely opposite timeline, what they call the Kelvin timeline. But it's still Star Trek. The same as Star Trek Discovery is still Star Trek. You know, you can't dwell on Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and the original Star Trek forever. It's still really great Star Trek. There he is.
What is it? A boy. A boy?
Whatever you do, don't call him Tiberius.
Tell me about it.
He's beautiful. Impact alert.
What are we gonna call him?
We can name him after your father.
Tiberius? You kidding me? No, that's the worst.
Yeah, that is the worst.
Let's name him after your dad. Let's call him Jim.
Jim it is.
And this was my first foray into Chris Hemsworth. I'd never really known him from anything before. I think he might have done an episode of Neighbours or Home and Away, but yeah, fantastic. I love it. Well, folks, did you get it? Congratulations if you did. Well done. Yep, my #1 spot goes to the opening Borg scene from Star Trek First Contact. Great movie. Love this movie. I always thought we'd get a big screen adventure with the Borg. And I've loved the Borg ever since going back to the Next Generation, where we first got to see them. And I love that they had the budget this time to really make them powerful, make them feared, and it's just an all-round great film. There are lots of comedy moments, there are lots of absolutely fantastic action scenes, and the best scene out of the entire movie is the opening battle scene. So Picard is just listening to all these communications of all these distress signals coming in from all the Federation ships that are involved in this attack, and he's already been told that he shouldn't be involved, that he shouldn't be going, but he takes matters into his own hands.
Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp. I'm about to commit a direct violation of our orders. Any of you who wish to object should do so now. It will be noted in my log.
I love these costumes as well.
I believe I speak for everyone here, sir, when I say, to hell with our orders.
That's fantastic. I love it when Data has these little on-screen moments. Data is one of my favourite characters out of Next Generation. I look at that ship. That is such a glorious ship. That's a big ship. Not as big as her captain. And these external shots of this Borg ship, it's absolutely gorgeous. And you don't know what you're in the middle of until you get that first shot there. And look at the Defiant, badly damaged. I love the Defiant, it's a fantastic design. And all these ships just attacking, trying to knock the shit out of it. This is a beautiful scene in the dark. It's all Federation, but they still managed to get the Klingons, the actual Klingon theme in, because Worf is piloting the shuttle, the Defiant rather. And today is a good day to die. The poor old Defiant's on its last legs, but they're going to go out with a blaze of glory. And this shot here of the Enterprise just flying past it, look at the size of it. That is huge. Every Enterprise design that they've come up with has been absolutely spot on. And I know a lot of people don't like Star Trek Discovery, and that the ship is a bit unusual, it's a bit triangular. But I've got used to it. I've got used to that ship, so I'm okay with that. But all these ship designs that they've come up with over the years, the Enterprise is, it's just out there.
This is Captain Picard of the Enterprise. I'm taking command of the fleet. Target all of your weapons under the following coordinates.
There are lots of great moments in this film with Zephyr Cochrane, played by James Cromwell, and he was perfectly cast.
Fleet responded, sir. They're standing by.
All these little ships being taken out just like that by the Borg. And Alice Krieg did a fantastic job as the Borg Queen. If you've got a really good sound system, that's what you need to listen to. Just the sounds, the incredible sounds, especially from the Enterprise. And I love the way that it explodes, and it explodes in green. Fantastic. Look at that, that is such a gorgeous shot. Just made it out. Well, I hope you enjoyed my countdown of my top 5 favourite Star Trek movie moments from the last 40 or 50 years of movies. If you've got any favourite scenes, stick them down in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video. Live long and prosper, my friends.